How's everybody doing? Like and subscribe to Black Americans Against Socialism on Facebook and YouTube.com. You may see me on other platforms. I am very sorry, terribly sorry, but you're going to hear a whole lot of noise in this video. I'm outside right now, and you're going to hear a lot of noise, unfortunately. Today I want to talk about the UN, the United Nations. One thing we need to do in the United States is we need to get the United States of America out the United Nations. The United Nations was created, number one, by China, France, Soviet Union, Britain, and America. Now, the Soviet Union was a socialist communist country. It's a socialist communist country. Think about that. The people who created the UN, one of the founders of the UN was a Marxist, a communist nation, the Soviet Union, or empire. Evil empire, if you ask me. And one thing the United Nations wants to do is they want to take away America's sovereignty. The ultimate goal of the UN is one worldism, a one world government. The UN has their own courts. They have their own militaries. They have their own financial institutions. No. We don't need a one world government. I don't support one worldism. I don't support it. I don't support it at all. I don't support no one world government. I don't. No. We need to get the United States of America out the UN. We need to get the United States of America out the United Nations. We don't need a one world government. We don't need a one world police force. Let's talk about sovereignty, the sovereignty of the United States of America. When ultimately the UN will take away more and more of American sovereignty, because the goal of the UN is a one world order, a one world government. That's the ultimate goal of the United Nations. This is the United States of America. Did you know the head of the UN? They had a socialist that was the head of the United Nations. Think about that. A socialist that was the head of the United Nations. Imagine somebody like the UN. They may start out with somebody who's a so-called liberal or very progressive person, but they might put a tyrant in there like a Vladimir Putin. Somebody who's it might start out with, like I say, a very progressive person, but they'll put in a person like a Vladimir Putin. He'll be the head of the UN. But see, the difference is if all the nations become under the UN, everybody will have to follow this man and do what he say. No, we're not going for that. We're not going for a one world government. And when they bring about this one world government, like all the nations will become states. They'll no longer be just like in America. We got 50 states in the United States. But if the UN comes in, the United States of America will no longer be its country. It'll just be a state in the UN. All the militaries of the world will be be giving over to the UN. It'll no longer be the United States military, the Israeli military, the Russian military, the Chinese military. It'll be the UN military. They already have one, the UN peacekeeping soldiers, but this time it'll be the UN will control all the world's militaries. The World Bank, it'll be a one world financial institution, which is the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund. It'll no longer be each country have their own currency. It'll be a one world currency. No more sovereignty. And it'll be ran by a dictator. Imagine the dude, the head of North Korea, that socialist communist idiot, Kim Jong-il, whatever his name is. Imagine him being the head of the UN. And then when the UN controls all the world's nations, you will have nowhere to run. See, if things get crazy in, just say, Italy, You can go to France, you can go to America, you go to South America, you go into Africa. But if the UN controls the world, you will have nowhere you can run. It'll be no nations that you can run to or go to, because the UN will have the whole world. The whole world will be under the UN. That's why we need to get America out of the UN, but every nation on the earth needs to get out of the United Nations, because we don't need a one world government. We don't need one worldism. No, I say no to one worldism. And I say no to the United Nations. Like and subscribe to Black Americans Against Socialism on Facebook and YouTube. Everybody, if you see me on my other platform, please go to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel, so I can get my views up on YouTube. You know, it really helps me if everybody goes subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please do that. Please subscribe to my YouTube page. Yes, but we must get America out of the United Nations. And if you know other people that live in other nations, tell them to petition to get their nation out of the UN. That's one thing I think all nations can agree on. Every nation should have their own sovereignty. And in order to do that, we got to get out of the UN, the United Nations. Yes. Yes. Like and subscribe to Black Americans Against Socialism. Thank you.